chances are if you're a student applying for roles in investment banking, an industry professional, or just someone who follows liquidity on Instagram, you probably were a bit confused when you first heard the term bulge bracket. This phrase gets thrown around a lot and can at times result in heated debates among finance bros in their flex apartments in Murray Hill. But what does it mean? If this is your first time watching one of my videos, then hey, my name is Cameron Galbraith and I am a finance professional here in New York City. This video is part of my new series, Street Simplified, where I break down opaque finance topics into easy to understand videos. If you're not already, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss an upload and can ensure that you're smarter than your friends. With that said, let's dive into the term bulge bracket. So this definition will come from Investopedia, and granted, it is a bit geared for people who have a general understanding of how investment banking actually works, so bear with me here for a second. Bulge bracket is a slang term that describes the company or companies in an underwriting syndicate that issued the largest number of securities on a new issue. The bulge bracket is usually the first group listed on the tombstone, a print advertisement of a new issue of securities. So basically, bulge bracket is a catch-all term for the most profitable multinational investment banks in the world. These are banks whose clients include the largest corporations and governments on the planet. And after bulge bracket banks, there are boutique banks. These are firms that are typically smaller and generally newer that specialize in certain niches of investment banking. Boutiques typically are involved in smaller deals with smaller companies. An easy way to visualize this is bulge bracket banks are like the big four accounting firms and boutiques are everybody else. So going back into the technical aspect, as a larger firm in an underwriting syndicate, a bulge bracket may act as the manager of the underwriter syndicate. In IB, syndicates are created so that the underwriting firms can share the risks and the profits associated with a new security issue like an IPO or a bond offering with other banks. The larger the issue, the more banks are likely to participate in the syndicate. So what are the bulge bracket banks? As you can tell, the term bulge bracket is synonymous with major investment banks. These are the banks that get the clout of being listed in larger print than anyone else on the legal filings. Although a topic of never-ending debate, the banks most commonly associated with the term bulge brackets include Bank of America Merrill Lynch, Goldman Sachs, Barclays Capital, Credit Suisse, rest in peace, Deutsche Bank, JP Morgan, Citigroup, Morgan Stanley, and UBS. Each of these banks have operations around the globe and offer a wide range of services to their corporate clients. The biggest bulge bracket bank by market cap is JP Morgan Chase. JPM has a market cap of around $430 billion and is also the oldest investment bank still in operation. It was founded right here in New York City in 1799 by John Pierpont Morgan. But a more helpful metric for ranking bulge bracket banks than market cap is what we call league tables. These are basically just stats around the fees or the revenue generated by these banks. As you can see on the screen now, in 2022, JP Morgan led the pack by bringing in over $7.3 billion in fees. Goldman was right behind at $6.8 billion. An interesting aspect of this to note is how these banks brought in the fees. On the right side of the graph, you can see now the breakdown of the different products offered. This includes M&A advisory, equity offerings, bonds, and loans. JPM may have had the most in fees, but Goldman, Morgan Stanley, and UBS all had more M&A revenue than JPM. This is important to keep in mind when applying for roles in investment banking and why sometimes a role in a high revenue generating group at a bank that may be less prestigious could actually be better for your career prospects and exit opportunities than a group that brings in a low amount of fees at a more prestigious bank. This all comes down to deal flow. A group that has higher deal flow creates more learning opportunities than a group that doesn't see as much action. So in summary, bulge bracket firms are the major bankers of a securities issue and the managers of the underwriter syndicate. This naturally includes the biggest and most well-known companies in the investment banking industry. While there is increasing competition from smaller boutique investment banks, the bulge bracket remains the dominant force in helping companies issue new securities. That's why it has the prestige and the several 100,000 applications every year to join its ranks. Speaking of that, if you want to make sure you're in a great spot for applications or even just want to level up in your career, make sure to subscribe to this channel because I post 2 new videos just like this each week. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram at Galbraith or connect with me on LinkedIn. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.